Okay, it's time for TriMet Strategic Financial Plan Part 2. You know where this is going, right? This shouldn't be any surprise to anybody that's followed any of this. Let's hear where they're going.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. As you already mentioned, a critical component of our strategic finance plan is accountability, is the financial stability. We stated as a board that part of the fiscal year 13 budget is the commitment to create this strategic finance plan. And we believe that this finance plan is TriMet's roadmap to fiscal stability.
Come on there, little rich girl. Come on, little rich girl. Just say it. You know you want to say it. Come on, let's spit it out.
This plan will establish policies and guidelines for making short and long-term financial decisions, and it will enhance a decision-making process that we hope is transparent and responsive. So with that...
Well, you haven't been transparent or responded up to date, so why should we believe that you're going to be transparent or responded just because you say so? This board has never been transparent or responded, and neither has the general manager. He's lied and been deceitful since the day one of his general managership.
Craig and I, or board member Prosser and I, have a meeting over the last couple of months, at least, to start putting these elements in place, and want to introduce that to the board today.
All right, folks, here it comes. Let's hear what they have up their little sleeves for us.
The strategic finance plan, I think, is really kind of a multifaceted effort. It's a key portion of that is a 5-year financial forecast, which TriMet has been doing. That will be a part of the plan on an ongoing basis. But it also needs to focus on key policy questions, and through this strategic finance plan, basically set some guidelines through the adoption of policies by the board. To put all this together, it's really important that we have a public discussion, not just a board discussion. And that's why we're making this presentation today, to really kind of introduce the topic and to kick off that community discussion. We have a timeline, and I'll go over that in a little bit, which will show the opportunities for public discussion there. We hope to have this before the board for its final approval in November. So we're kind of in an intense work period here to move this forward. So the plan first needs to start with understanding regional expectations, because we are part of the region here, and we're a key part of the region in terms of its livability and its financial health, economic health. So at the August board meeting, the board will be getting an update on Metro's Climate Smart Communities effort. Now, this is something we've actually had a little bit of a briefing at a prior briefing session. But in August, we'll have representatives here who will talk about climate smart communities. Climate smart communities is the response of the Portland metropolitan area, led by Metro, to put together a plan required by the Oregon State Legislature of all communities on how to reduce our carbon footprint. And Metro is looking at...
I do believe that Opal had filed a complaint to Clean Air, whoever does the Clean Air Act, that TriMet actually violated its responsibilities in the Clean Air Act by cutting bus service. And what turned out with that, I guess, was that somehow, not somehow, of course TriMet gets all kinds of waivers and favors because, you know, they control the money, they're big. What turns out that they extended the requirements of the so-called Clean Air Act. So they were not held accountable for those particular standards. Opal had a complaint about that. 3 different scenarios on that, and each one of those scenarios relies very heavily on transit. So in August, the board will be hearing more from staff on that. So. they're so far removed from actually changing anything to do with the clean air around here. Their service is so far removed from that. I mean, first of all, the people in Portland, like myself, that live in Portland proper, I hardly ever use my car. I hardly ever use transit either. I walk to where I need to go. I hardly ever use TriMet. And most people that live in this area, a lot of them don't really drive around. People that live in my building, the people that live here that have parking spaces use their cars. Now, there's some tenants that have no cars. Of course, they use TriMet to get where they need to go, and they have passes. And TriMet from this location here in Northwest Portland is good. So in Portland proper, I don't see that they can really influence much of anything else unless they had like very, very, very frequent service. They're never going to do that. They don't have the funds for that. Now, all the people that are commuting out on the west side or even on the far east side, there's no possible way they're going to get them out of their cars because they can't provide the service quality that would get people out of their cars. The only people that are using TriMet are the ones that really have to. I don't care what they call choice riders. People that are working downtown generally don't really have a choice. They have to take TriMet. There's no way to get down there easily, and there's no place to park easily. So a lot of the TriMet riders are captives, just like New York City commuters are captives.
So we'll hear about the regional growth at the next meeting, but before we grow service, we need to think about the service that's been lost and how do we restore that. Also, one of the board's biggest challenges is we will continue to face many unknowns, and we'll start to talk about what those are today and hopefully get some input as we move forward. So with our economy slowly recovering.
See how much they talk without saying anything? They're just going around and around in circles. They're not getting to the point. They're just going around and around and around. Get to the goddamn point, Schweitzer.
And unknown outcomes still on the labor front. Our biggest challenge remains our cost structure. It is even so the strategic financial plan is timely as we move forward on other major decisions. And at the last meeting, for example, we heard about the costs involved with the transfer policy and what it would take to restore service. So that's an example of what we'll be talking about today. But all of these decisions require resources and interrelated. So I think that's a big message we want to get out to you today. If we do one thing, it affects something else. So the impacts are something we will need to look at as we look at each of these issues.
We, as Stephanie indicated, we believe that the decisions that are before the board and the policies that we need to look at are best addressed in the context of the big picture. I can say in my experience in local government, financial management, and city management, I can guarantee you the time when you see organizations getting into trouble is when they start looking at issues independently, in the short time frame.
Wait a minute, hold the presses, wait a minute. McFarland in a previous clip said everything was fine for the next 5 years. Did he not say that? Yes, he did say that. Now this guy here, Prosser, saying, well, you get in trouble if you start saying things in the short term, but then his general managers just told us everything is okay on the short term, but the director says we shouldn't look at things on the short term. I smell some bullshit going on here.
Immediate needs. None of what we do is just a one-time kind of thing. We exist in a larger context. We need to be able to provide service over a longer time, and so that's why this financial plan is important.